welcome to another episode of REDtalks.live. I'm your host Nathan Pierce. You are awesome, and today we are going to talk about the launch of a new initiative I've been working on the last couple of months. That's why things have been quiet. But first, let's just have a quick recap, because today REDtalks.live turns 5 years old. And before we get into the new thing that I've been working on that I want to share today, for anyone who's ever thought about maybe starting out something like this, which I highly recommend, everyone has something cool to share that is valuable to someone else. And I'll be completely honest, when I did that first episode, I took at least 20 takes of that video. I overthought it. I was scared. The third video I did, I'm just checking now, has since had 5,000 views. You just have to get over that fear. I guarantee you everyone has cool things. There's certainly tricks you can learn along the way that make things more compelling and more visually appealing, etc., etc. But the number one biggest battle is just getting past that fear of starting. It's been an amazing journey. I've loved every minute of it. It's the feedback that keeps me going. I've had some incredibly nice things shared with me after episodes. And to be honest, that is what makes this worthwhile. And I like when I work something out and I share it and I think to myself, it'd be really cool if just someone else out there didn't have to go through the pain I just went through reverse engineering that to really understand how it's meant to work. And I like being able to do that for people where and when possible. So yeah, 5 years. Wow. I think we're creeping up on 30,000 views on just on the YouTube channel alone. Hopefully get there soon. So fun times. So now, what is it I'm sharing today? What's the fun thing I've been working on? Well, let's quickly switch the screens around and I'll show you. But short version first. To what I was just saying, what kind of inspires me to do this work, to create this channel, to help people not have to go through that hard effort of just trying to understand. Like a lot of people write great code and they share it on the internet, especially in open source, but the documentation is always quite lacking, and there's a lot of assumed knowledge out there, and assumed knowledge is often the inhibitor of getting people to just try something new, to experiment with something. And I really love trying to eliminate some of that need for assumed knowledge. So one of the things that stops me looking at something is having to create environments, build labs, configure platforms. And often I'll get a question from someone and I'll be like, well, just how does that feature work but when I've got this turned on? And I sit there and think, actually, it should be like X, but I'm not sure. So I want to look for you. And then suddenly I realize the 2 minutes it would take to validate that has to first be prefaced with the 4 hours of building the lab to replicate that platform, that environment, that situation that they need with all the right frameworks and versions of things. And I suddenly think, wow, is it worth it, that time? And what am I not doing when I'm building that 4-hour lab? So what I've been doing is actually pulling an infrastructure as code model to how I run my own lab, which I've been calling for years now REDtalks Labs. Very creative, right? So I want to just share a couple of things I've already created. Most of my work at the moment is around console. I work at HashiCorp right now, and I'm focused specifically on console and its go-to-market. So I'll share, but really this applies, the model and the principles and methodologies I'm using to build these console labs applies to many other environments. I'm using Terraform to build things up. I'm implementing Terraform in a very declarative manner. So I want to share just a first lab right now. I'm going to build a lot of documentation around this to make it easy to consume. But all the requirement is, the entire thing I've built on is this tiny little Intel NUC about the size of an Apple TV. And I installed the free ESXi 7 server on it. That's it. That's this. Everything I do is built on that. And in some of these environments, I've got like 20 plus servers running. And that little Intel NUC's doing it in its stride. It's fantastic. So not a huge commit. I'm going to add versions of this where you can run it in AWS, etc. But anyway, yeah, enough about the background and kind of why I do this and the motivation. Let's have a look at some stuff. So switching the monitors. Okay, now we're looking at the REDtalks Live GitHub account, specifically the REDtalks Lab repository. This is where I'm deploying the labs, sharing them, the open sourcing of REDtalks Labs. Everything is broken into two parts. Yes, this is ESXi 7 right now. I'm going to add more flavors, AWS, for example, some others. But this is where I've started, the starting point. Converting these for other platforms is actually easy. Once I've got a set of labs that I'm kind of happy with, I'll then create versions of those for other clouds. So going into where you see this images versus deployments, trying to deploy direct from source, like from ISOs, etc., it's super slow, super painful. So I use Packer first to create a set of images, and then I use those images to very quickly deploy environments and switch between the two. So let's take a quick look. Packer is fabulous. You define some information about the image you want. This is my ESX server that's going to generate the output, which is an OVA file in each count. A little bit of information about the virtual machines, the source, it's a Debian ISO, how to boot that instance to start running it. And then the result is these 3 builds. This one's just a vanilla Debian image that is built the way I like one built. Runs an update at the end. This is the same, but it adds the HashiCorp key for release management system on Debian, and that allows me to do an install of console and Nomad binaries. So this is my HashiStack image, and is another version of that image that also adds console Terraform sync for network infrastructure automation. So the end result when I run this and give it these input variables, then it spits out those 3 OVAs, and I put them into my NAS has a HTTP share, and then I can reuse those. Again, that actually takes quite a while to build those images, because in the background, it's actually booting the ISOs, customizing the ISOs, and then exporting an OVA. You don't want to do that every time. That's just crazy talk. Once they're built, then I can do deployments. These things run in like 5 minutes, and I've got like a 20 virtual machine environment running. 5 minutes, and I can nuke that in under 2 and then spin up a different environment. It's super handy once you've created this infrastructure. So here's an example. This is a single console data center, very basic implementation, 3 console servers joined together in a highly available scaling cluster, and then it builds 6 servers and it joins them to that cluster, and they register themselves as available. That's the service discovery basic kind of use case. You see in the Terraform here how to talk to ESXi, and then some details about how a server should be built. And then after that, we've got how the services should be built that are going to be registered with console. This I try to make as declarative as possible, and everything is driven by the input file, the Terraform TF vars, where I tell it, you know what, I want in this environment there to be 3 servers. Give the servers a special name prefix. And then I want you to iterate through this service list, creating a new virtual machine for each of these. I want you to register that as a web service with this meta tag, another one with a different version meta tag, some API front end, and some web front end, app. Once I have this built, again, like this is a whole bunch of servers. That's 9 servers spun up. It does it in under 5 minutes, and I can start answering, looking into things for people and working out how things do work or should work, and the speed to which I am being effective is dramatically increased by bringing this infrastructure as code practice, this model, to my lab. Now I said there was a bunch. This looks a little empty. Fear not. I'm promoting this to the main branch because it doesn't change very often anymore. It's quite static. I'm happy with the way that was implemented. There are many I've already done. These are reliable. I use them every day. But there's a few that I feel like I could do a bit more documentation, or maybe I could tune them a little better and make them more efficient. That is the only reason it stays an experiment. So these, by all means, they are all working. They don't get committed into this unless they are working. So yeah, we've already got a few, like we've got an encrypted version, a WAN federated service discovery version. More exciting, this one's way more complicated and kind of cool. This one is 2 console data centers joined together, both data center running a local service mesh that can query the other. That was super fun to build, so look out for that one. Once that's all finished and makes it to the main branch as well. It's been super fun building all of this. It's made me immensely more productive as a result of doing it. So I hope that's useful. Again, that's why I do these things, because someone out there hopefully will benefit from this. If you want to receive updates and hear more, by all means go to the REDtalks.live website, and under the contact section, drop your email address in, and I send emails only when there's an update, never selling stuff, and I don't sell your data to anyone else. So you'll get an email anytime I drop in a new lab or an article about something on how I run it. Or join our LinkedIn group. There is a REDtalks Live LinkedIn group. I also post new episodes and updates in that group as well. So for those of you who have been following for a while, thank you. Really appreciate it. Can't believe we're so close to 30,000 views. I will keep building things so long as they keep being useful to people. Again, like spend a little bit of time working on this. Changing jobs mid-quarantine does take some of your energy and time. But yeah, still here, site's still running, new content coming. Really excited about beginning this series about showing just how I run this lab with many, many different configurations and platforms. And I'm going to go deep in some of these things and explain just why I did things the way I did. So yeah, 5 years. It's been a journey. As always, the way I finish this show, thanks for listening.